The message that shattered everything. Welcome to my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I read the text message 3 times before my brain would accept what my eyes were seeing. Can't wait for tonight, baby. Your fiancé has no idea we've been together this whole time. The message was from my maid of honor, Chelsea, and it was sent to my fiancé, Marcus. Tomorrow was supposed to be my wedding day. My hands trembled as I stood in the bridal suite of the Rosewood Hotel, surrounded by white tulle and dreams that were disintegrating faster than the champagne bubbles in my untouched glass. The dress hanging behind me cost $12,000. The flowers downstairs, another $8,000. But none of that compared to the 6 years I'd invested in a man who was sleeping with my best friend. The perfect facade 24 hours earlier, everything had been perfect. Marcus had kissed me goodbye that morning, his hazel eyes crinkling at the corners the way they always did when he smiled. "One more day, Avery," he'd whispered against my lips. "Then you're mine forever." Forever. What a cruel word. Chelsea had been there too, squeezing my hand, her green eyes sparkling with what I'd thought was excitement for me. "You're going to be the most beautiful bride," she'd gushed, helping me pack for the hotel. Marcus is so lucky. Lucky. The irony burned like acid in my throat. I'd found Marcus's phone by accident. He'd left it in the rehearsal dinner venue, and I'd grabbed it to return it to him. The message notification had popped up on the lock screen, and my world had exploded into 1,000 irreparable pieces. The evidence keeps coming. My finger hovered over the message thread, some masochistic part of me needing to know more. I scrolled up. The messages went back months, years, maybe. "Your bed or mine tonight? Avery's at her mom's." "Chelsea, 3 months ago. I love you. I wish I could tell the world." Marcus, 6 months ago. "Wearing the lingerie you bought me under my bridesmaid dress tomorrow. Wanna see? Chelsea. Yesterday." I dropped the phone like it had burned me. My legs gave out, and I collapsed onto the velvet ottoman, my wedding veil sliding off the stand beside me and pooling on the floor like a ghost. How long had they been playing me for a fool? How many times had I confided in Chelsea about my relationship while she was secretly destroying it? How many nights had Marcus come home late, claiming work emergencies while he was actually with her? The girl in the mirror, I caught my reflection in the full-length mirror. The woman staring back at me looked hollow, broken. My auburn hair was already styled in elegant curls for tomorrow's ceremony. My makeup was flawless, done during today's trial run. But my blue eyes were dead. 28 years old, successful marketing director, about to marry the man I'd loved since college. That's who I was supposed to be. Instead, I was a cliche, the last one to know about the affair happening right under her nose. A knock at the door made me jump. "Avery?" "It's me," Chelsea's voice, bright, cheerful, completely unburdened by guilt. I stared at the door, my heart pounding so hard I thought my ribs might crack. She had no idea I knew. Neither did Marcus. They thought they were safe, thought they'd gotten away with it. The calm before the storm coming. I called out, my voice surprisingly steady. I grabbed Marcus's phone and shoved it into my purse. Then I plastered a smile on my face and opened the door. Chelsea stood there holding 2 bottles of champagne, wearing yoga pants and an oversized sweatshirt that probably belonged to my fiancé. Last night, as a single woman, she squealed, pushing past me into the suite. "I brought the good stuff. We need to celebrate." I watched her move around the room with easy familiarity, setting up glasses, chattering about tomorrow's timeline. She'd been my best friend since freshman year of college. We'd survived bad boyfriends, worse jobs, and every crisis in between. Or so I thought. "You okay?" Chelsea asked, finally looking at me. "You seem quiet." "Just nervous," I lied, accepting the champagne glass she offered. Big day tomorrow. The biggest. She clinked her glass against mine. To Mrs. Marcus Holloway. The name felt like poison on my tongue. I took a sip of champagne to avoid responding, my mind racing. They were expecting a wedding tomorrow. They were expecting me to stand at that altar, oblivious and smiling, while they shared secret looks across the aisle. But I had 24 hours to change the script. The plan forms after Chelsea left, claiming she needed her beauty sleep. I sat alone in the darkening room, Marcus's phone still clutched in my hand. The rage that had been simmering began to boil over. But it wasn't the hot, impulsive kind. It was cold, calculated, and crystal clear. They wanted a wedding? They'd get one. Just not the one they were expecting. I opened my laptop and began making phone calls. The first was to my lawyer cousin, David. I need you at the Rosewood Hotel by 8 p.m. tomorrow. Bring your recording equipment and a camera crew if you can manage it. I'll explain everything when you get here. The second call was to Marcus's business partner, James. Marcus had been hiding money. I was sure of it now. All those work emergencies were probably more than just sexual. James, it's Avery. I need to ask you something about the company finances. No, it can't wait until after the honeymoon. The third call was the hardest. Mom, I need you to trust me tomorrow. No matter what happens during the ceremony, I need you to stay calm and let it play out. The last night at 2 a.m., I was still awake, poring over bank statements I'd never paid much attention to before. Marcus had always handled the finances, claiming he was better with numbers. Another red flag I'd missed. There it was. Monthly transfers to an account I didn't recognize. Thousands of dollars, going back 18 months, the same amount of time Chelsea had been complaining about her mysterious benefactor who'd helped her start her boutique. He'd been funding her business with our money, with the savings we were supposed to use for our future home. I smiled for the first time in hours. It wasn't a nice smile. Tomorrow's wedding was going to be unforgettable, just not in the way Marcus and Chelsea imagined. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. Can't sleep. Too excited to marry you tomorrow. I love you, Avery. You're my whole world. I typed back, I love you too. See you at the altar. But what I was really thinking was, see you in hell. Heartbreak and revenge the morning of reckoning the sunrise painted the hotel room in shades of gold and pink, colors that should have filled me with joy. Instead, I felt nothing but cold determination as I slipped into my wedding dress. The Italian lace clung to my body perfectly, $12,000 of pure white lies. My mother had arrived an hour ago, her face tight with concern after our cryptic phone call. Avery, sweetheart, what's going on? You'll see, Mom. Just trust me. I squeezed her hand, and no matter what, know that I'm not the one who ruined this wedding. David, my lawyer cousin, had set up his equipment in the bridal suite's adjoining room. 3 cameras on tripods, all with a clear view of the ceremony space through the one-way glass we'd hastily installed. Legal? Questionable. Necessary? Absolutely. Everything's recording, David confirmed, his expression grim. He'd listened to the voicemails I'd found on Marcus's phone last night, Chelsea's breathy voice talking about their future together, about how Avery will be heartbroken, but she'll get over it. They'd planned to continue the affair after the wedding, maybe forever. The guests arrived downstairs. 200 guests were filing into the ceremony space, completely unaware of the drama about to unfold. I watched from the window as Marcus greeted people at the entrance, looking devastatingly handsome in his custom tuxedo. His parents beamed beside him, proud of their successful son. Chelsea was in the bridesmaid's dressing room, probably adjusting the lingerie she'd mentioned in her text. My other bridesmaids, 3 women I'd kept at arm's length compared to Chelsea, were laughing and taking photos, innocent participants in this charade. My phone buzzed. A text from James, Marcus's business partner. "You were right. Forwarding you the documents." "This is bad, Avery. Really bad." I opened the attachment. Bank statements, email chains, legal documents. Marcus hadn't just been stealing from our personal accounts. He'd been embezzling from the company he and James had built together. Nearly $500,000, funneled through various accounts, and Chelsea had been helping him, using her boutique as a front to launder the money. My hands shook as I forwarded everything to David. They weren't just cheaters. They were criminals. Walking down the aisle, the music started. Canon in D, the song I'd chosen a year ago when everything was still beautiful. My father appeared at the door, confusion and concern warring on his weathered face. "Pumpkin," your mother said. "I know what I'm doing, Dad." I linked my arm through his. "Walk me down that aisle, and when I give you the signal, step aside." The doors opened. Every head turned to watch me. Gasps of admiration rippling through the crowd. I'd never looked more beautiful, and I'd never felt more dead inside. Marcus stood at the altar, tears in his eyes as he watched me approach. Real tears. The bastard was actually crying, probably thinking about how he'd successfully fooled me completely. Chelsea stood in her seafoam green bridesmaid dress, holding my bouquet, her smile perfectly arranged. She caught my eye and winked. Actually, winked. The vows that weren't I reached the altar. My father kissed my cheek and started to step aside, but I held his arm. "Wait," Marcus frowned slightly. "Avery?" "Before we start," I said, my voice carrying clear and strong through the microphone, "I have something to say." The officiant looked confused. "Miss Chen, that's not part of the... I found your phone yesterday, Marcus." The words dropped like stones into still water. "I read your messages. All of them." The color drained from Marcus's face. Behind him, Chelsea's smile froze, then cracked. "For those of you who don't know," I continued, turning to address the crowd, "my fiancé and my maid of honor have been having an affair. For years. They plan to continue it after today. After we said I do." Gasps erupted. Marcus's mother let out a choked sob. Someone in the back started filming on their phone. "Avery, wait." Marcus reached for my hand, but I stepped back. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out?" My voice was steady, cold. "Did you think I was that stupid? That blind?" "The evidence unfolds, David," I called out. My cousin appeared from the side room, holding a tablet. "Show them." On the massive screens we'd set up for our wedding video, the messages began to play. Every damning word, every explicit photo, every declaration of love that should have been mine. "Can't wait for tonight, baby. Your fiancé has no idea. I love you. I wish I could tell the world. After the wedding, we'll have her money and our freedom." The crowd was in chaos. People were standing, shouting. Marcus's father was red-faced with rage. Chelsea had backed away from the altar, her perfect composure shattered. "But wait," I said, holding up my hand. "There's more." James, Marcus's business partner, stood from his seat in the third row. "Marcus has been embezzling from our company. Nearly $500,000 over the past 18 months. Chelsea's boutique is a front. The money's been laundering through it." "You bitch!" Chelsea shrieked, lunging toward me. 2 groomsmen caught her, holding her back. This was supposed to be perfect. We were supposed to what? I turned to face her, and she flinched at whatever she saw in my eyes. Destroy my life while building yours? Spend my money while stabbing me in the back? The breakdown Marcus had sunk to his knees, his hands covering his face. I'm sorry. God, Avery, I'm so sorry. You never meant to get caught, I interrupted. That's different from being sorry. His mother was sobbing openly now. His father looked like he wanted to commit murder. My own parents stood behind me, their hands on my shoulders, their support unwavering. I loved you, Marcus whispered, looking up at me with those hazel eyes that had once made my heart race. I really did love you. No, I said softly. You loved the idea of me, the successful wife who'd make you look good, the trust fund that would bail you out of your mistakes. But you never loved me enough to be faithful, to be honest, to be a man worth marrying. I turned to the crowd, many of whom were crying, filming, or staring in shock. I'm sorry you came all this way for a wedding that isn't happening, but I'm not sorry I stopped it. I deserve better than a man who'd betray me. We all do. The final twist, officers, David called out. 2 police officers appeared from the back of the venue. These are the individuals we discussed. Marcus Holloway, Chelsea Winters, you're under arrest for embezzlement, money laundering, and fraud. Chelsea screamed as they handcuffed her. Marcus didn't fight, just let them lead him away, his expensive tuxedo jacket falling open, his dreams of easy money crumbling around him. As they were taken out, Marcus looked back at me one last time. Avery, please, I can explain. I can fix this. You can't fix betrayal, Marcus, I said. You can only pay for it. The doors closed behind them. The venue fell silent, except for the sound of my mother crying happy tears and my father murmuring, "That's my girl." I turned to face the guests one last time, still in my wedding dress, still beautiful, but no longer anyone's fool. There's food and an open bar in the reception hall, I announced. It's paid for, so we might as well use it. Consider this not a wedding, but a celebration of freedom, of truth, of never settling for less than we deserve. Slowly, people began to stand and applaud. It started with my mother, then spread through the crowd like wildfire. They were clapping for me, for my courage, for my revenge. The morning after I woke up in my childhood bedroom, surrounded by the posters and trophies of a girl who still believed in fairy tales, my wedding dress hung in the closet, a $12,000 reminder that even the most beautiful dreams could be nightmares in disguise. My phone had exploded overnight. 67 missed calls, 243 text messages. The video of my non-wedding had gone viral. 8 million views and climbing. People were calling me a hero, a savage, an inspiration. But I just felt tired. Avery? My mother knocked softly before entering with coffee and aspirin. How are you feeling? Like I dodged a bullet, I admitted, accepting both gratefully. Like I saved myself from a lifetime of lies. You did more than that, sweetheart. She sat beside me on the bed, smoothing my hair like she had when I was a child. You showed the world that you won't be anyone's victim, that you value yourself enough to walk away. The legal battle begins, David called at noon. The prosecutor wants to meet with you. Marcus and Chelsea are trying to make a deal, but they need your testimony to make the fraud charges stick. When? I was already reaching for my clothes. Now, if you're up for it. At the district attorney's office, I sat across from a stern woman named Patricia Hernandez, who looked like she ate defense attorneys for breakfast. Ms. Chen, thank you for coming in. I've reviewed the evidence you provided. It's substantial. Will it be enough to convict them? More than enough. But I need to prepare you. Marcus is claiming you entrapped him, that you knew about the affair and deliberately humiliated him for revenge. I laughed. Actually laughed. Let him claim whatever he wants. I have timestamps on every message, every transaction. The truth is on my side. Patricia smiled grimly. Good, because this is going to get ugly. Rebuilding from ashes 6 weeks later, I sat in a coffee shop across from James, Marcus's former business partner. He looked older than he had at the wedding, the stress of the company's financial scandal taking its toll. I wanted to thank you, he said, stirring his coffee nervously, for exposing Marcus before he could do any more damage. We're still recovering, but we'd have lost everything if you hadn't spoken up. I didn't do it for you, I admitted. I did it for me. But I'm glad something good came from it. Good enough that you might consider a job offer? He slid a folder across the table. We need a new marketing director, someone with integrity, someone who isn't afraid to call out bullshit when they see it. I opened the folder. The salary made my eyes widen. This is what you're worth. What you've always been worth. James leaned forward. Marcus kept you small, Avery. He liked having a girlfriend who was successful enough to be impressive, but not so successful that she'd overshadow him. Work with me, and I'll help you become everything he was too insecure to let you be. I thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. When do I start? The courtroom was packed when I took the stand 4 months later. Marcus sat at the defense table in an orange jumpsuit, his expensive haircut grown out, his confident smirk replaced by hollow desperation. Chelsea wouldn't even look at me. Miss Chen, the prosecutor began, can you tell the court about your relationship with the defendants? I told them everything. The 6 years with Marcus, the 10-year friendship with Chelsea, the betrayal I discovered the night before my wedding, the evidence I'd gathered, every painful, humiliating detail. And why didn't you confront them privately? The defense attorney asked during cross-examination, trying to paint me as vindictive. Because they'd already lied to me for years, I said calmly. Why would I believe anything they said in private? At least in front of 200 witnesses, there was nowhere left to hide. So you admit you wanted to humiliate them? I wanted the truth, I corrected. The humiliation was just a natural consequence of their actions. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Marcus got 7 years. Chelsea got 5. Their perfect life together, the one they'd built on my pain, reduced to ashes. 6 months later, I stood in my new corner office, watching the sunset paint the city in shades of amber and gold. My phone buzzed with a text from David, heard from Marcus's lawyer. He's asking if you'll visit him in prison. Wants to apologize. I deleted the message without responding. Some people deserved second chances. Marcus and Chelsea weren't among them. Avery? My assistant poked her head in. Your date is here. My heart did a small flip. Daniel. We'd met at a marketing conference 3 months ago. He was kind, funny, and refreshingly honest. He'd told me on our first date that he was divorced, that he'd made mistakes in his past, but that he believed in transparency above all else. Send him in. Daniel appeared in the doorway, holding flowers, not roses, but sunflowers, my favorite. Ready for dinner? More than ready. I grabbed my coat and bag, taking one last look at my office, at the life I'd built from the rubble of my almost marriage. As we stepped into the elevator, Daniel took my hand. You seem happy. I am, I realized with surprise. For the first time in years, I actually am. The final word that night, after dinner and wine and laughter that felt effortless, I returned home to my apartment, my space, paid for with my money, decorated to my taste. No compromises, no lies. I opened my laptop and began to type, turning my story into a blog post that would be read by millions. 1 year ago, I stood at an altar and chose myself. I chose truth over comfort. I chose dignity over a beautiful lie. It wasn't easy. It wasn't pretty. But it was necessary. To everyone who's ever felt like they're not enough, like they should accept crumbs when they deserve a feast. You are worth more than someone's half-truths and hidden agendas. You are worth more than being someone's backup plan. I was supposed to become Mrs. Marcus Holloway. Instead, I became myself. And that's the best revenge of all. I hit publish and closed my laptop. My phone immediately started buzzing with notifications, but I ignored it. Tomorrow I'd read the comments, respond to the messages, maybe even do an interview or two. But tonight I poured myself a glass of wine, put on my favorite music, and danced alone in my living room. Because sometimes the greatest love story isn't about finding someone else. It's about finding yourself and refusing to lose yourself ever again. The unexpected visitor 3 weeks after my blog post went viral. I received a letter, not an email or a DM, but an actual handwritten letter, delivered to my office in a plain white envelope. The return address made my blood run cold. Blackwood Correctional Facility, Chelsea's prison. My assistant had already opened it, per protocol for all my mail since the trial. Avery, I wasn't sure if you'd want to see this, but it's fine, Maria. I took the letter with steady hands, even though my heart was racing. I can handle it. Alone in my office, I unfolded the lined paper. Chelsea's handwriting, once so familiar from birthday cards and inside jokes scrawled on post-it notes, now looked shaky and uncertain. Dear Avery, I know you probably threw this away the moment you saw where it came from. I wouldn't blame you. But if you're reading this, it means some part of you is willing to hear me out. I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve that. I'm not even writing to explain, because there's no explanation that makes what I did acceptable. I'm writing because I need you to know something. You saved my life. That sounds insane, I know. You exposed me, destroyed my business, sent me to prison. But you also forced me to face the person I'd become. A liar. A thief. A woman who valued money and excitement over basic human decency. Marcus and I, we were toxic together. We fed each other's worst impulses. He made me feel powerful, like I was getting away with something forbidden. And I made him feel desired in a way that had nothing to do with expectations or responsibility. But it was hollow. Every kiss was poisoned by guilt. Every secret meeting was tainted by the knowledge that we were destroying someone we both claimed to care about. I lie awake at night, replaying that moment at the altar, the look on your face when you revealed everything. You weren't just hurt, you were disgusted. And seeing myself through your eyes finally shattered the delusion I'd been living in. I've started therapy here, court-mandated at first, but now I go voluntarily. I'm learning about the patterns that led me here, the insecurity that made me crave validation at any cost. The childhood trauma I never addressed, the way I measured my worth by the men who wanted me. None of this excuses what I did. Nothing ever could. But I wanted you to know that your strength that day, standing up for yourself, refusing to be a victim, it planted a seed in me. A tiny voice that said, if Avery can choose herself over comfort, maybe I can face the truth too. I hope you're happy, Avery. I hope you found someone who deserves you, and I hope you never waste another second thinking about the people who didn't. You were always too good for both of us. Chelsea, I read the letter 3 times, feeling emotions I couldn't name. Anger, yes, but also something else. Not forgiveness, I wasn't there yet, might never be, but acknowledgement that people were complex, that even betrayal had layers. I didn't respond to the letter, but I didn't throw it away either. I filed it in my desk drawer, a reminder that revenge wasn't just about punishment. Sometimes it was about forcing people to confront who they really were. And sometimes that was the most devastating consequence of all. The documentary 8 months after the trial, a production company reached out. They wanted to make a documentary about my story. about the viral wedding expos that had sparked a national conversation about infidelity, financial abuse, and the courage it takes to walk away. "We're calling it The Bride Who Said No," the producer explained during our first meeting. "But we want it to be more than just your story. We want to interview other women who found the strength to choose themselves, who've walked away from bad marriages, abusive relationships, financial manipulation. You want to make me the face of a movement I didn't ask to lead," I said carefully. "We want to amplify voices that are usually silenced," she corrected, "including yours. But only if you're comfortable with it." I thought about the thousands of messages I'd received over the past year, women thanking me for giving them courage, men saying I'd made them examine their own behavior, therapists citing my blog and sessions about self-worth. "I'll do it," I decided. "But on one condition: we include resources, hotlines, therapy services, legal aid. This isn't just entertainment. It's a roadmap for people who need it." The documentary premiered at Sundance 9 months later. Daniel held my hand through the entire screening, squeezing gently during the hardest parts, the footage of me reading those text messages, the raw emotion on my face at the altar. When the lights came up, the audience stood and applauded for 3 full minutes. People were crying. A woman in the front row mouthed thank you to me, tears streaming down her face. That night, my phone exploded again. But this time, the messages were different. They weren't just about schadenfreude or entertainment. They were about hope. "I left my husband today, after 12 years of cheating and lies. Your story gave me the strength. I'm a divorce lawyer, and I'm using clips from your documentary in consultations. You're helping people understand they deserve better. My daughter was engaged to a man who was controlling and emotionally abusive. She watched your story and broke it off. You saved her future." I sat in the hotel room, reading message after message, and realized something profound. My worst day had become my greatest gift. Not just to myself, but to countless others who needed permission to choose themselves. Epilogue. 2 years later, the invitation arrived in cream-colored envelope with gold embossing. For a moment, my stomach dropped, memories of my own failed wedding flooding back. Then I read the names. Not Marcus, not Chelsea. My own name alongside Daniel's. "What do you think?" he asked, wrapping his arms around me from behind as I stood in our kitchen. "Should we send them out?" 2 years had passed since the disaster at the Rosewood Hotel. 2 years of therapy, growth, and learning to trust again. Daniel had been patient through it all, never pushing, always honest, showing me through actions rather than words that not all men were like Marcus. "Yes," I decided, turning to kiss him. "But let's add something to the RSVP card." "What?" "No objections allowed. The bride means it this time." He laughed, that wonderful sound that still made my heart skip. "You're sure about all of this?" I thought about the girl who'd read those devastating text messages 2 years ago, about how broken she'd felt, how certain she'd been that she'd never trust anyone again. Then I looked at the woman I'd become, stronger, wiser, successful, surrounded by real friends who'd proven their loyalty through action, not just words. "I've never been more sure of anything," I said, because this time I wasn't walking toward a beautiful lie. I was walking toward a hard-earned truth. And that made all the difference.